Welcome back to the Gen Z Speaks podcast. My name is Matt Gutierrez. My co-host, who hisses a lot to tell us when he's upset,
Hisses.
is Ibrahim Ahmed.
Thank you.
He hisses almost like Voldemort.
Huh?
You hiss almost like the man who may not be named. I'm not talking about the one that starts with a J. I'm talking about the one that starts with a V.
Wow. Is that your way of roasting me? Was that your best roast?
No, that's just off the top right now.
Come on, give me something more. Roast me.
No, I'm not gonna roast.
I want to
this
be
guy.
roasted.
I don't want to roast you because this is forever gonna be on the internet.
So,
It's okay, man.
you want me to roast you?
It's okay, man.
No?
Leaders don't roast each other.
Yes, they do. All the time. Actually, there's a study done recently that says that in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
if a couple makes fun of each other, they last longer and they're happier together.
That was on CNBC Make It.
Was that right? You saw that?
I
Yeah.
saw that.
That's great. So,
It makes sense.
podcast hosts that make fun of each other last longer, get more subscribers, and get one step closer to Joe Rogan.
Wow.
So with that,
I disagree.
we can start
Joe
off.
always hypes his people up.
No, have you seen the way he's been treating Jamie lately? Oh my God,
Dude,
been
it's actually
terrible.
crazy. It's actually kind of crazy.
Bro, he was like, "No, Jamie, this is." I was like,
Well, I was watching the Matt Walsh one with Joe, and bro, I mean, I don't know how their dynamic is, relationship behind the scenes, right? But Jamie also gives some attitude, but then
Really?
Joe will like punch back, and he's Joe Rogan, so what are you gonna do? But
it seems like they disagree ideologically a lot.
you think so?
I think so.
I remember because I was watching the Matt Walsh one today, and Jamie was looking for one of the videos, and Joe's like, "Jamie, can you pull it up?" And Jamie was like, "Well, I need to know what I'm looking for." And Joe looks at him. He's like, "Well, just it's such and such." And he's like, "Yeah, but I gotta go know." And Joe's, "Okay, you'll find it, Jamie." Anyways, I was like, "Whoa,
Damn.
yeah."
I didn't see that. I saw something else.
What'd you see?
He just got mad at him, and he was like, "Well, that's a fact, Jamie. That's what you call a fact or something."
That's what you call a fact.
Something like that. I think Jamie is uncomfortable when Joe Rogan like starts down the
Confronting?
conspiracy realm.
Really?
Like he gets a little because he's like, well, the data doesn't or something.
Doesn't show kind of thing.
And then Joe wants him to, I don't know.
To show something.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about the #1 podcast
Everyone knows who
in the
Joe
world.
Rogan is.
Well, they might not know Jamie.
Maybe
though.
not young Jamie.
Jamie is the quant of the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yes. I guess you do kind of have to bully the quants every once in a while.
No.
You may have to put the quants in their place. Back to the Philippines. We got to ship them back to the Philippines.
The topic of the podcast today is leadership. It's part 3 of our series of how to win friends and influence people. I don't think it should be a part of that, but I just wanted to talk about leadership in general. So what do you have to share with us today, Matthew?
Be a leader. How to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment.
Okay, say that one more time slowly for the audience listening, please.
This is technically part 4 of how to win friends and influence people.
Okay.
Be a leader.
The book
The book. This
By?
is Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie.
Be a leader. Be a leader. Sorry, not a liter. Don't be like a 2-gallon liter of soda. Be a leader. How to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment.
Mm-hmm.
Part 1. If you must find fault, this is the way to begin. Begin with praise and honest appreciation.
Yeah, we talked about this in the last podcast.
I think a lot of these points are kind of repetitive
Mm-hmm.
in his book.
How about this? Let's start off with some research. Since I'm the numbers guy on this podcast, I know all the research. At this point, I'm
I know my
basically a
numbers.
scientist. At this point, I'm a doctor of podcasting. As a doctor, let me share with you some research that's been done seriously on the topic of leadership.
Okay.
There's a leadership consulting firm called DDI. They did a study, which we call research, in case you didn't know. Study is a research, and a research
Thanks for that.
is a study.
Okay, move on.
Word salad
Thank
for
you.
the day.
Mhm.
They
Thank you.
studied 50 countries,
Okay.
24 industries, about 2,000 human resource departments, and 14,000 leaders.
Okay.
And they found that the confidence in leaders has dropped by 17 percentage points, the lowest since the 2008 global recession.
Mm.
So globally, there is a crisis in leadership. where people don't feel confident in their leaders, and the leaders themselves don't feel confident in their leaders.
Are you talking about political leadership?
No, organizationally, in business,
Okay.
organizationally. This could be a nonprofit, this could be a business. I'm not talking politically.
Gotcha. Okay.
And globally,
Yeah.
DDI, this leadership consulting firm, studied these countries, and that's what they found.
Really?
It's a crisis.
Yeah. It makes sense to me.
Why?
It seems to me now that leadership is in this modern generation, there's a lot more transparency in that. What I mean by transparency is we can see who the leaders are, right? There's social media, there's all types of different ways of seeing who the person is, rather than this idealized human being that we thought was godlike almost, right? I think through the centuries and centuries before, we didn't have a way to see who the person really is. Even celebrities, before social media, there was just on the news, and even before the news, it was on the radio, and you didn't know who these people were, right? There was only headlines of this person, and whatever song they can't put out, whatever movie they put out, and wow, to be on a movie star, to see him on TV, there's something that's better than me. And in general, like even CEOs, like Steve Jobs, before social media, he was just like this. He was like this godlike figure creating a marketing genius business. And now that we have social media, information is able to be spread, we see them more humanely, right? We learned more about who he was, maybe the things that he didn't do so well with Apple in his family life, and this is all. I think this all goes down that line.
Well, the reason why, according to this consulting firm, there's low levels of confidence in leadership is because of the pandemic and a lot of uncertainty created by the pandemic in terms of like workforce dynamics, like work from home, remote, etc. The research does say that generally majority of leaders in an organization never feel like there are quality leaders within that organization. Does that make sense?
So wait, say that one more time.
So majority of the leaders within an organization, they never feel like there's quality leaders in that organization.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
In their own.
Yeah.
But right now, they're saying this is because of a lack of trust. So what you're saying is the fame aspect of it. I'm talking about organizations that the leaders are not famous, so they're not public people. You don't know.
Yeah.
So the reason why there's a crisis in leadership in terms of the study is because, one, leaders are not being, honest with their employees in terms of they're not creating that relationship of trust. They're not being vulnerable. They're just having like a superficial layer of work related, like relationship. And that's not healthy, as we've talked about in podcasts before. Like, you got to get to know the person personally. You can't just know them work-wise.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't establish that relationship of trust. So they're saying the reason why so many people are not confident that there are leaders in the organization they work with is because there isn't a relationship of trust within that organization. Does that make sense?
That makes more sense.
Yeah, so you're talking about big corporations,
Yeah.
about big leaders, and consumers not having trust maybe because they see everything about this person online.
Not even consumers. I just use that Steve Jobs as an example.
Yeah. But this is just talking about organizationally, like regardless of if your leaders are famous or not. Yeah.
So I guess to pivot to a different point then, with just like employees not trusting their bosses, essentially. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think I've heard this actually from a few people that I know that are still in big in corporate America, that there's a lot of people are just like leaving the company, and there's not a lot of even talks about it amongst the corporation. It's not like, hey, so and so's leaving, we have to wish them a goodbye, which I've experienced. That's happened a lot of times when I was in corporate America. But now it's like they're just taking off, and nobody's saying anything about it, right? So I think that goes into what you're saying with trust and like hiding things. So it's like, okay, if they don't want to talk about people leaving the company, what else aren't they talking about, right? And then you have to also think about, why are people leaving? And I think what you're saying is definitely true. People, the big, like the guys on top, they're trying to filter information as it goes down, right? Because if you keep the little guys, all like the menial labor guys, basically not in the know. If you don't keep them in the know, there's less information for them to base their decision on leaving. They're gonna be more comfortable staying in place because everything's okay, right? Rather, if you fill them with all this information, hey, there's a there's a stockholder meeting coming up, and this is happening, that's happening. We need to ramp up work or whatever. Then it puts everybody in a frenzy. And when people are in a frenzy, they make drastic decisions without actually knowing the repercussions, in the future. So I think that is definitely happening. People are just they're just becoming more secretive, it seems like.
Well, I think a lot of people might be leaving is because they don't feel a sense of purpose or meaning at work. Because research also shows
That is true.
that workers and just people in
Yeah.
general are more likely to be productive if they believe what they're doing has meaning and purpose.
But why don't they believe there's meaning and purpose in their job?
They just don't believe it. Like they're because it starts with leadership.
That's the point.
So
yeah.
that's also something they studied was so many leaders
Yeah.
within an organization. Most senior level leaders don't have a sense of purpose and meaning. So if the leaders
That's
don't have a
people in
sense
general, though.
No, but the thing is, successful companies. Look at what Steve Jobs did. He created a sense of purpose at Apple and meaning.
I don't know if he necessarily had it himself, though.
Sure, but he created that sense. You know, so
He's
I'm
a
saying,
visionary.
yeah, I'm saying like great leaders have this ability to establish that what we're doing means something.
Okay.
You know, it's important,
Yeah.
and that starts at the top. If you don't have that at the top,
Yeah.
your workers are not gonna have that. People who work for you are
100%,
not gonna
yeah.
have that.
That's
So
a loss. It's lost.
that's exactly. So
Right.
my point is, if you have that sense of fulfillment and meaning from work, you're more likely to stay. Because if you truly believe in this company's goal and message,
Yeah.
and you've put in a couple years, and you believe in the leadership, like you believe what you're doing is impacting people and influencing them and helping them, or whatever it is that you're doing,
Yeah.
you're more likely to stay. Whereas in a company, you're just getting paid a lot of money. You find another company that pays you more money, you'll just go to the other company because it's the same level of
Yeah.
meaning and purpose, you know? So I think that's why people might be leaving. But the most interesting thing from this research that I learned was that the most successful leaders tend to be vulnerable. Vulnerable not isn't like they tell their deepest, darkest secret to the people they work with. No, but they just acknowledge their own faults. They acknowledge the problems they're experiencing
Mhm.
work-wise, or it could be personal as well. And they create an environment where people are comfortable to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, to be more open. What you were saying about transparency, right? Like the more open a leader is, the more respect I think a leader can get from the people that work for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always, it's always here and there. But I think there's a lot of reasons, man. There's just a lot of reasons why it's a very strange thing, dude. It's a very strange thing. The more and more I think time goes on, the more and more I hear that people are in the positions they are because they steal, because they cheat, because they lie. I don't think I necessarily believe that, right? But there has to be some validity in it. If it's a concept that keeps being brought up and brought up. And my point with the transparency is because there's so much there is just so much transparency, whether we like it or not these days. Like you can see who the person is, and talking about big corporations, right? The people on top, you can see who they are without them telling us nowadays, right? And so we hear all like these bad things about, Jeff Bezos this, Elon that, and that I think inherently loses trust in these people. They're no longer like these superheroes that we once believed them to be.
Mm-hmm. But those are, I think, bad examples because Elon Musk has just become a political figure. So a lot of the press is going to come after him.
Regardless, Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, Mark Zuckerberg, whoever you want to say. I'm just using names that people know, right? There's always headlines about these people. Every day there's a headline about one of these guys. I mean, every single one has headlines. He did this bad. They did that bad. They did this good. They did that bad. You know what I'm saying? It just goes on and on and on. And I think, I don't know the answer, right? But what I do know in history is, for example, let's just use George Washington, right? There's not a whole lot known about the guy. The only thing that we do know that he did bad is he was a slave owner, right? Everybody was a slave owner back then, though. But we believe him to be the superhero type figure founding America. And maybe it's a good thing that we don't know all the bad that he had done, because we would have less confidence in him as a leader. We'd have less confidence in the United States as a country. And with all this this know-how and transparency going on, trust is a byproduct of it being lost.
I get that for celebrities. Yeah, the thing is, Mark Zuckerberg, whatever the guys you mentioned, they become celebrities. Once you have fame, you become a celebrity. So people are interested in your life. You know, like they're interested in your
Okay.
personal life. They're interested in what you're doing when you're not working for the company. Like they're interested when Mark Zuckerberg does MMA because he does
Yeah.
that, right? Like they're interested in
Yeah,
Elon
yeah.
Musk when he, I don't know,
But that's where it
goes.
starts, right? It starts with these guys at the top.
Yeah,
That's my point of bringing this up.
well, I think it's separate. I disagree because I think what the research is studying is just like private corporations that nobody really knows who the leaders are. I'm just talking about just in general in life, like any business. Take a look at any business. What's happening is there aren't enough leaders that feel like there are quality leaders in that organization, and there just isn't that trust. And your point is it because the all the big corporate leaders that we see how faulted of people they are. Maybe that's why the trust is eroding. But I just think it's more organizational. I don't think that has to do a lot with it. You know?
How so organizational?
Okay, so let's take a look at a mid-sized company, a mid-sized law firm.
Okay.
Okay, a mid-sized law firm, and so the way a law firm works is there's associates,
Mhm.
there's senior associates, then there's partners, then there's name partners. Usually that's the hierarchy. So let's say an associate has been working there 3-4 years, right?
Okay.
There's like 5 associates. They feel like their partner
Mhm.
that supervises them is a terrible leader because the only time the partner speaks
Yeah.
to these associates is when the partner needs something. The partner has never asked an associate how much family they have, like what they like to do,
Yeah.
what their passions are. All they ask for is contracts. Say it's a corporate law firm. All they ask for is contracts. Did you get your job done? And that's it. And that creates a lack of confidence in the partner because it seems so transactional. You know what I'm saying?
And you're saying this is a result from the pandemic?
No, not from the but they've noticed that confidence in leadership has decreased since the pandemic
Okay.
because of the work environments, because of the hybrid work environment, be it remote. You're not having that face to face like interaction.
you think
That's one of the reasons why. And I don't
Okay.
think that's the only
No,
reason why.
I'm just
Yeah,
trying to understand your point.
yeah.
So you think before the pandemic or even way before, maybe the 80s, you think the 70s, you think there was that?
No, there's always been problems within leadership. You know that's
Yeah.
like
No, I know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, we're speaking in generals here, right? But you think generally there was more personal
I don't think a remote work environment works. I don't think it's productive. It can work for some companies, but honestly, like having worked
yeah.
at so many different remote companies, I never had a sense of purpose or meaning. I'm just speaking from my
Do
personal
you want to have a
experience.
purpose or meaning at work?
A lot of people do.
Yeah,
'Cause-
but I disagree. I agree with what you're saying they do. I don't
Mhm.
think they should.
Well, the thing is, people get a sense of fulfillment from the job that they have. You're supposed to, like, in life, whatever your job is, like for you it's different because you're an entrepreneur, right? You don't want to work for somebody. But for people who just want to live an honest living, it's important to have a sense of purpose and meaning at work. And if you don't have that, there's like a big void in people's hearts.
Yeah, I understand that.
So and not that I didn't ever want meaning or purpose, but I would have liked some fulfillment. And my point is, since the pandemic, because work environments have shifted
yeah.
so much digitally, it's harder to have that in-person interaction. But regardless, what this company studied or this
Wait,
yeah.
before you go on, just going back to what you just said, I totally understand people want to feel a reason to go to work, right?
Yeah.
They should feel like maybe not even happy, but something makes sense with what they're doing, right? My point is, yeah, sure, but your joy shouldn't come from doing a job. I think you should have a hobby or some interest that you're in. That's your purpose in life.
Why not? Why shouldn't you get joy from the job you do?
You can, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is,
But you're saying you should not.
no, I didn't say that.
Okay.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you said that.
I said you should not get joy from work.
Yeah, you said you should get it from a hobby instead. That's why I was confused.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is,
What are you trying to say?
what I'm trying to say is, that shouldn't be your only reason to go to work, to find joy in it. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, most people will go to work. Hopefully, you find joy, right?
Yeah.
But in my opinion, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, whether you work 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day, you should figure out something that actually brings you joy. something genuine. Maybe you go surf, maybe you go rock climb, maybe you paint, maybe you read, write, whatever it is. There should be something else that is Ibrahim Ahmed rather than just being on a computer working.
So you're talking about joy. That's different
That's
from
not
meaning and purpose.
No, that's not at all.
I think it's very different.
Oh no, definitely not.
Because you can
Hold
find
on, wait. The real thing is, yeah, you can find joy from work and you can find meaning and purpose from work, but your meaning and purpose shouldn't just come from you doing a task.
Hold on a second. Okay, so joy, what I'm saying is joy is
Yeah.
different from meaning and purpose. Because you find something to be purposeful doesn't mean you're going to get joy out of it.
I'm not. That wasn't
Yeah.
my argument though.
Yeah.
My argument was if you go to work, right,
Uh-huh.
and you feel like it's meaningless, okay,
Yes.
you're probably not going to find joy in it,
Sure. Yeah.
right? That's my point. So if you don't find joy in
Mhm.
it, you should find joy and meaning or whatever. I'm using it interchangeably, okay?
Mhm.
You should find it in something of who you are. Like you're not a person like what you're doing, right? Political consulting. You're not. I mean, you as a person aren't an email being written to all these political
Yeah, yeah,
campaigns.
yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah.
You are a person who enjoys acting, who enjoys movies, who enjoys art, watching things, doing things.
Mhm.
Most people should be that way. Maybe not necessarily in the arts, right? But if they genuinely feel passionate about swimming, then swim more. That's who you are. Who you are isn't work, and I think that's where America is. I don't want to say failing, but that's like the point of America. We are exuberantly productive humans, right? In terms of innovation, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing to find joy. I mean, not joy. Sorry, meaning or purpose in.
Okay, so
Yes.
here's where I disagree.
Okay.
I think whatever job it is that you do
Yeah.
should bring you a sense of purpose. So let's say your passion is
Mhm.
swimming. Make that your job.
I agree. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Make
Yeah,
that. But a
yeah,
lot of people can't do that.
yeah.
So you're saying, find hobbies to do that. But I think it's important for people. You mentioned people are sad because they're
Mhm.
so, like, what's the word? Workaholics, maybe. Because they work a lot, right? Sure.
Maybe.
I think whatever it is that you do for a living should bring you a sense of purpose. If it's not bringing you that sense of purpose, find something that you truly love,
Yeah.
then pursue it, and then eventually make that your,
No, that's ideal.
make that your living.
That is
yeah.
ideal. Most people they can't envision it. They can't grasp it. That can be a reality. Most people don't understand, finances and the economy like on a actual scale. So they don't know how to even save their money or how to spend, be more
Yeah.
frugal, right, and to turn that into reality. So I'm for the average person, for a person that doesn't know exactly how to save or do things like that. That's my suggestion to whoever. Actually, I think you should have something outside of work that you feel you are like you can embody yourself as a swimmer. You can embody yourself as a writer, as a surfer, hiking, whatever it is. I just don't think people in general are office people, or they're not part of corporations. They're not people in general aren't there to weld a machine. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not who a person is.
I think a leader's job should be, in some way, to help the person that they are leading see the sense of purpose in what they're doing. I'm not saying they're going to make you love your job, but a leader should try their best to bring that sense of meaning to the other person, because if the leader is dejected, if a leader hates their job, if the leader just truly is in it for the money for themselves,
Yeah.
what are you doing then? You're wasting everybody's time in the long run. Because in the long run,
Except themselves.
exactly, in the long run, your retention rates will be really low. People will leave.
Yeah.
You'll constantly be shuffling through teams. You'll constantly be training people, and that's not productive.
Right.
I think one of the other reasons you said a lot of people are leaving jobs is also because we're increasingly seeing jobs as just a means of monetary value.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's why I think you should have a sense of purpose, because if you just view a job as a way to make money, I don't think long term it's going to be healthy for your own mental health. I don't think a
Right.
person will be happier. That was my point. But in general, why is leadership down? since the pandemic, I think it's because of these work environments. That's what the research founded, at least DDI.
The
This
work
this
environment.
this
It's like more
leadership
hostile.
consulting firm. Not hostile, it's just they're not having that in-person connection. Like they're even saying the DDI research, this leadership consulting firm said
Yeah.
hybrid work environments don't really work either.
See, that's a great. I think that's a good point. In terms of just being virtual or hybrid, it compounds onto like social media and like our loneliness, right, in general, right? Because before this, I think it was still going on where guys were it was more lonely than ever. There was still less relationships than ever, right? And if you go ahead and say, hey, you have to stay inside now, you can't have any interaction with people,
Yeah.
that compounds, right? And that compound isn't good. So I think it's a series of things, not only the virtual thing. I think if even social media wasn't a thing in a different world, right? Social media wasn't a thing, and technology was simply used as a tool in order to do your tasks, and you could still go on Zoom. I think people would be fine. I really do. I think people would still go to bars to go kick it. I think people would still party. I think people would still go to the beach more or travel. I think it would be a different situation. I think it just compounded.
Yeah. And the another reason I think, man, is where the DDI research founded this as well. I keep saying DDI research, DDI research.
You should go work for them, bro. Maybe.
DDI research.
Yeah, actually, you probably would find some
leadership
value.
consulting.
Yeah.
I'll
Some
find my sense of
purpose.
purpose at DDI. DDI, man. What does that sound like? It sounds like I thought I knew something
DDI.
called DDI. Oh, it sounds like DEI.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
DDI. God. Okay, so they're saying
Don't push that agenda, please.
they're saying burnout rates are at all times high.
Yeah, I know.
So they're saying 72% of leaders at the end of
Yeah.
their day, they feel like they're just done. Like they don't want to do anything because they're so tired of working all day. And I think the reason why, bro, is because we're becoming so much more digital. People are not hanging out and sharing their difficulties together. Because if you're working a remote job, you log in and then you log off, who are you going to talk to about your workday?
Yeah.
Your family, sure, but they
Yeah.
don't understand what you just went through. They don't work at your company.
Right.
Only your coworkers can.
Yeah.
I think pre-pandemic, like I think it was there was this like beauty in working at companies where you got to hang out with the people that you worked with. You might hate most of them, sure, but at least you'll find that one person that you can talk to,
Yeah.
get to know. Because I don't think you can really get to know a person virtually. It's very hard.
It is very difficult.
You can definitely establish relationships. Like I've had so many relationships with people just virtually. My bosses,
Yeah.
and it's worked. But I don't think I know them fully
Right.
until I see them in person. I don't know how tall they are.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what type of clothes they wear. There's a lot you can tell about another
Yeah.
person when you see them in person. So yeah, and it's interesting. DDI, DDI research found.
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna stop saying that. But they found that the confidence in leadership was actually increasing after 2008 until the pandemic hit. Like that destroyed all the progress that leaders made together
Really?
collectively. Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
the pandemic really
Yeah.
did slow things down.
That makes sense. I also think though that the pandemic was in a way a savior to a lot of entrepreneurs, because I think a lot of people that were working, and then they went digital, they realized, like it was almost like an awakening. I mean, it kind of was an awakening to me because I mean immediately
Yeah.
after college, right? It was in person. It was hybrid. My real estate role was hybrid, and then after that it was in person, and then it was online. While I was jumping around, and what I realized is, okay, my job actually only takes a few hours a day.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm making money, whatever, but I don't find, just like you said, I don't find purpose in what I'm doing because my role only requires technically 3-4 hours a day. There's still 4 hours I'm sitting around. Do I like this? No. And if you're a true entrepreneur, you already knew this from the bat, right? It's just you didn't know how to take that first step. And so you were allotted time during the pandemic, right? And time to think, time to figure out, do I really want this? What can I do about it? And that gave me at least some courage in saying, hey, a lot of these people did it. I'm in a time right now where everybody's online. Why can't I just do it while everyone is on pause, right? Because the pandemic was essentially a pause in a lot of people's lives. And if you were in the game and you were still playing while everyone was on pause, oh, you can jump in quicker. You can jump in faster, more effectively. So I think in a lot of ways it helped entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Well, that for you, it was the Great Awakening.
For me, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, I mean, unfortunately, some entrepreneurs are already in business.
Yeah.
I mean, it
So
screwed
they
a lot of them
lost
up.
their business.
Yeah. Everyone had leases. That's the whole problem.
Yeah.
Everyone had leases, and nobody handled that right. I mean, if you're paying $3,000, $4,000 a month for a little 1,200 square foot retail joint, how are you gonna go a year and a half, 2 years without paying, and then at the end of it, you're dumped with a $30,000-$40,000 payment you need to make?
And you've had no customers in that period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
Yeah.
But it's also allotted us time to think, hey, we're in a different age right now. We're in a digital age. How can I use my resources and use like the current environment to make a successful business?
Yeah. That's the spirit of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You figure it out. It doesn't
Figure
matter
it
what
out.
happens.
Exactly.
The world is tearing itself apart, so
How-
deal with it.
exactly.
Adapt to it.
Yeah.
World War III is coming, so
Yeah.
find a nuclear bunker.
Yeah.
I think the most important quality in a leader, though, is, I think we've talked about this in the podcast as well, but I think the most important quality in a leader is to lead by example.
Yeah.
I think once you lead by example, you can build that trust within your teammates. Whatever job it is, if you're making a film, if you have your own business, if you work for a nonprofit, whatever leadership capacity you're in,
Yeah.
you need to be the example that everybody sees.
Right.
If you are not that example, they will not respect you, period.
Yeah.
There is no ifs, ands, or buts to that. Like,
Yeah.
that's one thing that I've seen personally so many times when I worked on films or, just companies or nonprofits or even in my own community. Like, leaders that just give out instructions
Yeah.
and tell people what to do, it just doesn't seem genuine. But if the person shows me how to do it, does it themselves, and then it's like, okay, now I'm passing the baton to you, then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel much more at ease because they paved the path for me.
Right.
They showed me how to do it. They did it themselves,
Yeah.
and they made me feel like I could do it. And they offered their help, that they would be there if I got stuck. That's a true leader.
True.
They
Yeah.
empower you
Yeah, for sure.
regardless of your mistakes and faults.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of leaders just don't do that because they feel like, well, it's their job. I hired them to do this. They're supposed to know. I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to show them. I'm wasting my time. My time is valuable. A lot of people think of a leadership that way, and I think that is so unproductive.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't even think that's a manager. You're not even managing anything, right?
Yeah.
If you can't show them what you're doing or how to do what they're doing, you're not a manager. You're just apparently a supervisor, right? You're not doing anything really. On top of that, I want to say I don't think just because you're an entrepreneur means that you're a leader too. I think they could be very different things. I've noticed the last couple years, people that come and buy stuff from me, a lot of them are entrepreneurs in their own sense, but they don't have like strong communication style. You can totally tell just the way they're talking to you. How would this person even direct another person? Like it would end up in a shit show, basically, right? An entrepreneur is somebody I think that has just a lot of like up front and go to like I can do this and you can push a lot. But a leader is a person that can, I think they also have a lot of grit and push, but they can take a step back and say, hey, maybe this person needs to learn this, and so I can go ahead and exactly what you said, carve this path for them, right? To be a leader in a business, especially if you're starting a business, it's actually one of the toughest things I think there is out there, because you need to be an entrepreneur in order to start the business, right? Because you have to pay yourself before you start paying others.
Yeah.
And then you have to learn how to bring somebody onto your team and make it effective so the business doesn't lose any money, right? And the person still enjoys what they're doing, understands what they're doing. You can make a living, right? It's interesting. I've been thinking about that recently a lot.
Do you think? So that's very fascinating. You think entrepreneurs and leaders are not interchangeable?
They're not interchangeable.
Really?
Yeah.
So a leader can't necessarily be an entrepreneur.
No, I think a leader can be an entrepreneur.
Just entrepreneurs. So you're saying all entrepreneurs are not leaders?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yes.
So even if you have the hustling instinct, doesn't mean you can be a great leader.
Exactly.
It just means you know how to hustle and move things around.
Yes.
That doesn't mean you can manage people.
There's a difference between
Mm.
a hustler and a businessman.
Mm.
And that's something I'm learning to overcome, because right now I'm a solopreneur, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be a hustler forever. I
Yeah.
don't want that.
Sure.
I know guys in this field who are like 50 and they're
What's the
still
field for those listening?
liquidation.
Yeah.
They're still in liquidation. They have a warehouse. They do the same thing I do, but they're just hustling. And honestly, hustling, I mean, it feels good once you're able to figure it out, get the sale, but it's exhausting. I mean, it's
Yeah.
exhausting. I mean, the warehouse alone, I'm on call 24/7. I'm not working all the 24 hours in the day, but I'm on call 24/7, man. And even the days where I technically only put in 2 hours of work, it's just draining, dude. It's
Yeah.
just draining, and
'Cause
it's
you're
like
constantly texting people.
constantly
calling.
doing something or thinking like, okay, today I only worked 2 hours. I didn't get any sales, but what's draining is, how do I make this valley into a peak? That's the tough part, and that's the draining part. How
What do you mean by that? Valley into a peak.
So we've talked about this on a previous podcast. For every valley, there's a peak, right? Like for every time you're down, there's going to be an up.
Yeah.
And so the days I don't get any sales, I mean, I'll be quite frank with you. I did the math today, actually, and on average, I have to make $808 every single day in order to break even.
You have to make $800 every day.
Every day, I have to make $808 every day in order to break even, a month, right? And that's overwhelming, right? So it's like, if I don't make any sales for 2 days, oh, buddy, that's over $1,600. I'm now technically out, right? I have to figure out on day 3, how do I come up with $2,400? And that's what's draining. And so being a solopreneur, yeah, it requires dealing with all this stuff. But how do I get myself into a place where I don't have to be doing all this thinking, right? You can bring somebody in and they can think for you. Maybe they even have ideas for you, right? But it's not an easy task in order to do. I think it's probably more difficult to do that than to be a hustler.
Yeah. So the next step for you is to divide and conquer. You know, like find people that can not only make your life easier, but you expand. Like, how do you use the skills that you have and help people that you hire do those skills, and then you get to do your thing, but you're expanding. You know, you're not just they're not just doing your work. They're like, you're doing more and they're doing more. And
exactly.
It's a company and a business. Yeah, that is the hard part. People don't know how to manage other people, because I think a lot of people don't know how to manage themselves. I was thinking about this, like if you are a leader and you want to lead by example, you got to start in your own personal life. You know, like if you're not disciplined in terms of your work schedule, if you're wasting time, if you're not productive, how do you expect your coworkers or the people that work for you to be productive?
100%.
You can't. It all starts with you.
Yeah.
If you want to be a great leader, work on yourself first.
Yeah.
It's okay if you're not there yet.
100%.
Baby steps, and then progress eventually, you know, ascends, and then you get to where you want to be.
Yeah. What I've started doing, I guess, in order to get to that next level, or to even organize myself, because naturally I'm not an organized person. My brain is scatterbrained. I'm all over the place. I just started. All I did was create non-negotiables for me for every day of the week. So things I have to do every single day.
Good.
In order to function, basically, right? In order to not fall behind. And I don't exactly create a schedule like 9 a.m. this happens, 11 a.m. that happens, you know?
Yeah.
All I do is, hey, I got to do all this stuff in a day. And that's what works for me. Before, I was kind of doing this, but just in my brain. It wasn't on paper. And that was the problem, because I am scatterbrained, right? So I forget things. When something comes up, I'm there, I'm here. And I think I've only done it this week, but so far it's helped a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
What's helped me, I think we're similar in that we're doing multiple things. What's helped me recently is see the relationship amongst the things that I'm doing.
Okay.
For example, cricket, right?
Yeah.
In cricket, what I do, specifically fast bowling, every single little thing you do matters. Like your run up, the way you run towards the wicket, the way you hold the ball, the way you drop the ball, your landing foot, your back foot, your non-bowling arm. Every single little thing matters. In comedy, what I found in stand-up comedy is on stage, every single word you say matters. It has an impact. on the LSAT, if you study for the LSAT for
Yeah.
law school, literally the whole test is being attentive to every single word. It's just a word test.
Yeah.
How critical can you see a word and see a relationship within that?
Yeah.
In podcasting, I don't think in podcasting every word matters, but it's important. The stuff that you
Yeah.
say is
The
important.
way you articulate. Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
like in acting, oh my God,
Yeah.
every single word that you say matters.
Right.
Every single line matters. So the relationship that I saw amongst all the things that I was doing was every single little thing matters.
Yeah.
And like when I'm like laying down on the bed, like I'm thinking about cricket or comedy or
Yeah.
you know whatever it is, I'm just thinking about how can I be more concise
Okay.
and how can I have an impact, create an impact
Yeah.
through each word, like through each action.
Yeah.
That can be applied
That's
to almost anything,
anything, bro.
as I think about
Yeah.
it, but it's important to find those relationships, you
Yeah.
know? Because in comedy for the longest time, like I was doing a lot of
Yeah.
and like, and, but also, like, and I was, you know, and I
Mhm.
realized, oh my God,
Yeah.
every single word I say matters.
Right.
So, you know, that helped me see, even in like cricket, I was taking for granted the way I ran to the wickets. No, you have to be cognizant of the way you're running.
Okay.
Are you running like a sprinter? Are you doing like small joggy steps? What is your rhythm? Like literally, people don't realize this with anything in life. Whatever it is you're doing, whatever your craft is,
Yeah.
every little thing matters.
Right.
And me doing podcasting, comedy, and you know playing cricket just helped me see the relationship amongst all these things.
Mm.
Because in sports, you need perseverance.
Yeah.
In comedy, you need perseverance. When I bowl, bro,
Yeah.
I don't know if in baseball what it's called when it doesn't hit the line. Is there?
What's the
There's a foul
line?
ball. There's a foul
Okay.
ball, right? There's a foul ball
Yeah.
in baseball.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also in cricket. There's wides, so that's like a foul
That's a
ball.
Okay.
A lot of pitchers bowl foul balls.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're failures? No.
No.
In comedy, a lot of people bomb.
Right.
Does that make them a loser? I was just talking to a comedian 2 days ago, and he was so depressed, bro, because he bombed on a show, and
Okay.
he was like, you know, I don't know if what am I doing? He's been doing it for a year and 4 months, and he
Yeah.
was just sharing with me. He was like, and on stage at this open mic, he was
Yeah.
just like venting, and he was like, you know, a lot of people, all the greats say they never had a moment when they wanted to quit. They just wanted to keep going, and I was like,
No.
they're not being honest. You
Yeah.
know, like everybody wants to quit and
Yeah.
anything, whatever it is, because
Yeah.
we want fast results as
100%.
humans.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My point is, just like in sports where you fail so much,
Yeah.
that's real life. Like comedy, your jokes are gonna bomb. It's okay.
Right. It's
The key
natural.
is to figure it out. It's like Steph Curry
Yeah.
misses majority of his shots.
Mm.
Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time in
Yeah.
NBA history. His 3-point percentage rate, guess what it is? It's like 46, 47%. Maybe 45, I
enough.
think. Yeah, he's missing most of his shots.
Yeah.
And he's the greatest shooter of all time. A lot of people feel like
crazy.
they have to be perfect. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Just the key, I think,
Just be better than yesterday.
just be better. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Be better than yesterday. Oh my God. That is one thing that I've learned over these last 5 months. Baby steps.
Yeah.
You're not going to be Dave Chappelle in 2 months.
You're not. Yeah.
You know you're not. You can't be Shoaib Akhtar, the fastest cricketer bowler ever in history,
Okay.
162 kilometers per hour. He bowled a 100-mile ball while bouncing the ball. It's insanely hard.
Really?
Insanely
I think
hard.
I could do it.
No, but yeah, I try it.
Let's go outside.
Try. I have a speed gun in my car. We'll
Did
try.
you buy one?
Yeah, to measure out my speed. I need to be cognizant, but my
Have you
point is,
tested it yet?
yeah, I'm off.
What are
I'm
you
off.
at?
I need to be. If I so
In
the
miles per hour, how fast are you right now?
It does kilometers. I don't know. We
What
can do
is
the
it
math.
kilometers?
Kilometers right now. My honest pace probably 100.
100?
I'm on, but that's my
That's
pace.
like 40 miles an hour.
100? No, 100.
100 kilometers?
100 kilometers, 60 miles an hour. What are you
60?
talking-
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, 60. My point is, the fastest. That was the fastest bowler.
Yeah.
The average bowler is somewhere 80 to 90 miles an hour. So
Oh.
I'm off by like 20 to 30 miles. Yeah, I have a lot of work to
Oh,
do.
wow.
I'm way off.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of work to do, man.
How do you get better at that?
You just have to bowl like hundreds of balls. Like I had, what did I do?
And you'll get faster. Your arm will get or get stronger.
No, your rhythm. Every single thing in bowling matters, bro. Like if you watch, it's hard to explain, but the way it's like have you seen people who do javelin throws?
Yes.
Javelin throw?
Yeah.
Like that's all practice. That's obviously muscle
Yeah, but
too.
distance makes sense. Speed,
Yeah.
what do?
You just build up that ability to throw a ball faster, bro. Every single thing matters. Your
Yeah.
run up matters. The way you throw the ball, the way you jump up in the air,
Uh,
you can get faster.
okay.
There's 18-year-old kids,
Yeah.
thin, like almost emaciated, bowling 140 kilometers an hour. Yeah, you could do
And
it.
you got to compete with these guys.
Yeah, you could do it. You could do it.
So
There's definitely a
Why
possibility.
aren't these guys? Are they famous? I mean, are they in the league?
Well, this is in India where everybody wants to be the next fast baller.
Are they in the league or no?
Are they? There's no league.
Oh, there's no league there.
There is league. There's
Oh.
IPL, but
Uh-huh.
there's professional cricket. Yeah, there's different tiers. Yeah, but my point is
Yeah,
this to be Shoaib Akhtar, you takes years.
Yeah.
Takes years.
That's also genetic privilege too, though.
Yeah, he has
Part
some,
of that.
160 is insane.
That's
161 is the fastest ever, or 162, I think. It's somewhere in the upper 160s.
Yeah.
That's the
Low
average.
160s.
A good fast bowler
Yeah.
is like 140 to 145. That's a good fast bowler. Solid.
See, okay, wow.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
That's
aim.
perspective.
Nobody does 160. Like you rarely.
No, but you're aiming
see.
for 140.
No, I'm
145.
aiming for 160 because if you want to shoot to be the best.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
So that what you
But to
land.
get you in the league will be 140, 145.
Well, the way in cricket it works, at least in America, is
Yeah.
you start at club cricket. So I play club cricket.
Okay.
Then you go up to. You could play like under 23. You could do under 18.
What's that?
Under 23.
Oh,
like
age-wise,
Yeah.
okay.
So if I'm gonna be 24, I can't do that. So the next professional level tier is minor league. Then there's major league.
Oh shit, yeah.
It's a big leaps from club
That's
to
a
minor
huge
league.
leap.
It's a huge leap.
So how do
But
you
there's-
notice?
There's people that I play club cricket with that play in the minor league, and I was like, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
how do you get noticed?
Oh, it's easy to get.
There's
noticed.
tryouts?
You do. Yeah, there's tryouts. There's
Okay,
tryouts all
literally.
over. It's very merit based. If
Okay.
you are a good player,
Yeah.
you will get noticed, and especially as a fast bowler, if you have speed, speed is king. Like if you bowl 150, if I can bowl 150
Yeah.
tomorrow, I'll play it in.
And to go from minor league to major league is no joke.
It's huge
That,
leap.
that's probably
Yeah.
a bigger
Bro,
leap.
sports is no joke.
Yeah.
It's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely my point is honestly, bro, in America, at least
Yeah.
from what I've seen, I know in the beginning of the podcast you said a lot of people feel like they have to steal, they have to lie to be somewhere to be
To be
leaders,
somebody, yeah.
right? I honestly in America from what I've seen, bro,
Yeah.
in various industries, even in Hollywood for the most part, if you're truly amazing at something, if it really is,
Yeah.
you'll get it done. Like
No,
you'll
for
be
sure.
noticed,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it is. You know, it's and I think that's the beauty of America. Like if you're truly good at something, truly sincerely, you put in the work,
Yeah.
more times than not, you'll be successful.
I agree.
More times than not, you'll be successful.
I agree. I think what I was saying with that is you'll for sure get noticed, regardless. But the leap will be bigger if you do a devious act in order to boost yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I just been hearing that, dude. I've just been hearing that. Just like you said, most leaders and organizations don't see good leadership, right? And it's like, why though? Why are they even in the leadership position, right? And I don't. Is it nepotism? Is it just because they know the person? Is it what is it? What is there has to be a reason. If a bad leader is in their position, there's got to be a reason. What is it? Are they lying? Are they taking credit for something that wasn't theirs? Are they cheating on an assignment? There has to be a reason if they're not solid, right? And they're there. And that's what makes me think like, hey, if this person isn't good, but they're still there, there's something I don't know, right? Because it just doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense to 30, 100 other people, then there's probably something wrong going on here.
Yeah. In that case, they might have some value, right? Like
But
they might
what's
have
the
some
value,
skill.
right?
We don't know.
Yeah.
But I think more times than not, those people eventually get, like they leave or they get fired or
Maybe
yeah.
end up being millionaires still, but maybe.
Yeah. But honestly, I think if you have a skill and you try your best to perfect that skill,
Yeah.
You'll get to wherever you want to be for the most part,
Yeah.
It just takes time. That's
Like-
what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you have to be like, it has to be concerted effort.
Yeah. Leadership takes time too.
Yeah.
You can't be the best boss at your first job where you have to be the boss.
Yeah.
You just can't be. You have to learn. Like when we directed that film, wow, it's going to be almost 2 years. But a year and a half ago, we directed a short film. We were leaders of that set.
Yeah.
A hard job to
Yeah.
make people who are not being paid for the most part, like half of them were not being paid to do
Yeah.
something.
More than half.
More than half of them
Yeah.
not being paid at all. They're just
2 people were being paid actually out of 20. So 10%.
3. 1, 2, 3. 3 people.
Producer, director,
Sound.
sound. You're right.
Yeah, 3 people got
Three
paid.
paid. Yeah.
Out of us, yeah. Overwhelming
So 3 out of
majority.
20.
Imagine doing like that was hard. Like we failed at so many things.
Yeah, for sure.
We failed like so much, but it's
I don't think it was failing though.
yeah,
not
exactly because
failing,
we
which
haven't
we
given no
learned,
exactly
yeah.
we learned, but it's
Yeah.
good to fail. Like you know what I'm saying? Make
Yeah, for
mistakes is
sure.
what I mean. Like we made so many mistakes. Maybe that's a
Yeah.
better word. Yeah, we made so many mistakes.
And then ideally in the next one we get better and
Yeah,
so forth. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
You can learn to be a leader. That's for sure. You should.
you think you can?
Yeah. You have to set your ego aside though.
Yes.
If you have an ego, then I don't think you can learn how to be anything. Because you're just in it for yourself. Like if you're trying to be something on a social scale, and you can learn to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just think you're top shit and there's
Yes.
nothing else there, you're not gonna be able to learn to do anything.
That's true, man.
Yeah.
What do you think somebody can learn to be an entrepreneur?
That's a tough one, man. I think people can do it. I think people can learn to be an entrepreneur if they have a mentor there. If you don't have a mentor there, I think it has to be like some hustle DNA has to be innate in you. I was watching a clip earlier about hunger, basically. Right? I think I might have sent it to you. But the guy was saying, hey, if you're sitting at home and you're hungry and there's food in the kitchen and you're still not cooking because you want somebody to cook, because you want someone to cook for you, then you're not hungry enough, right? You're waiting. But if you're one of those guys who's sitting in the garage because your parents can't afford a house or can't afford an apartment, and there's no food there, you're hungry. You got to figure it out, right? You're okay with buying a loaf of bread and you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, and figuring it out. But you have to be hungry. There has to be something innate in you that wants something more. And I think hustle, entrepreneurship, I think that can be a result of stance and situation, right? Socioeconomic situation. But if it's not, there's something that you just have to feel some fire. And most people just don't feel that fire, right? And if you don't, that's okay. You can still start a business. You can still do something, right? But you probably need some guidance. You probably need somebody to steer the path, which is okay. It's just a different situation.
You have to have drive. What drives you?
Yeah.
I think you can learn to be an entrepreneur.
You can.
You might not be.
You need some
as
steering though.
Amazing as somebody who has that innate instinct and that
Yeah.
innate drive, but honestly speaking, from what I've seen, and I'm young. We're both young. We don't know everything about the world, but I think any person can learn to do anything. If you put in the work, you put in the hours, you put in the time, honestly, you can do anything you want as long as you're dedicated, focused, and you give it your best.
Yeah.
You can learn to do anything. You can learn to be a comedian. You can learn to be funny. A lot of people say, oh, no, some people are just funny. Yeah, some people are.
Yeah.
But somebody who's not funny can learn to be funny. There's a science
True.
to it. There's an art to it.
It just takes more time.
It will take them longer. Yeah, that's the only thing.
Comedy's a little bit different because you don't need like a whole lot of financial resources, right, in order to be a comedian. In the beginning at least, right? Would you agree, or you need a lot of financial resources?
I think you do, because comedy doesn't pay you in the beginning.
No, I know you need a job, bro. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're an entrepreneur, it requires a lot more financial resources, and most people, time isn't a resource to them. It's like you just have to know and you just have to figure it out. Most businesses, 90% of businesses don't pass the first year. 9 out of 10 of those businesses don't make it past the third year.
Really?
9 out of 10 of those businesses don't make it past 10 years. They don't have longevity, basically, right? And so in order to make it quicker, you have to know. It depends on the business too, right? But essentially, you just have to know how to sell. You have to know how to sell. You have to know how to get money into your pocket from another person's pocket. And that's not something innate for most people.
But speaking of, has it been 1 year for Pal Dudes now? When's the 1 year?
25th.
Today is 1 year?
Today's 1
no
year.
way.
Yeah,
Congrats. There you go.
Yeah.
You said 9 out of 10 businesses don't make it past the first year?
Yeah.
So you did it. You're one of the 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
Good job, man.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. That's
Appreciate
incredible. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so it takes time, man.
Yeah.
It takes time. That's what it is. September 25th, today is the day?
September 25th. I put my first down payment on my first lease, yeah.
That's amazing, man. It's been 2 years for me doing comedy on September 22nd.
September 22nd.
3 days ago, yeah.
3 days ago.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah. But the thing about comedy and the money thing is, in the beginning, you have to pay for open mics. So if you're really broke, It can be hard. But if you're trying to perform comedy like every day, like 3-4 times, it's like $20.
$20
Times
a
it
day.
by 7.
You need a job.
You need something.
Yeah,
you need
something.
you need
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
You need something.
No, but it definitely for entrepreneur you need capital. You
Yeah,
need some sort of money.
Yeah.
You need to have good credit so you can borrow money from a bank
Right.
or whatnot.
Which you don't want to do. That's something. If you're an entrepreneur, if you can save your money and figure it out, just do that. You don't want to owe anybody money. Like, you don't want to borrow money from the bank. It's just, why pay the bank an extra few $1,000s, $10,000 or more if you don't need to? Just figure it out.
Life is easier if you don't owe anybody anything.
It just it takes a load off your shoulders, and you can break even faster, like with yourself. I'd rather owe myself money. I honestly, I feel like I'm more concerted to get the money back into my bank account quicker than I would be to pay the bank back. Yeah.
That can be applied to leadership too, actually, because if you become your own manager first, isn't that incredible?
Yeah,
like a lot of people look for mentors and coaches, but I was thinking about this in the shower today, where I have my deep thoughts.
Yeah.
I was looking for like a cricket coach, but I was like, hold on a second, what if I just coach myself? There is a science to fast bowling that's available online. I've seen cricketers do this. I just need to see myself as my own coach. I just need to see myself as my own stand-up comedian coach. Look at my tapes. The beauty is we have a phone. If you're doing something physical like I do, like play cricket or like do comedy or podcasting, we could see there's like hundreds of hours of episodes now of me and you talking. We can literally go back, look at the way we interview our guests, and improve. That's it. Like, it's so easy to be your own coach. It's the easiest thing in the world. But you need to have that, like,
I don't think it's the easiest thing in the world to be your own coach.
Easier said than done, yeah. Easier said than done. But once you figure it out, it becomes easy. Because then you just drive yourself. You become your biggest, like, competitor.
It's more effective. I think that's the answer. It's more effective than finding, like, a mentor or, like, somebody to coach you, for sure.
Because you hold yourself accountable. Mentors will come and go. People might die.
Yeah.
But as long as you're there motivating
But you can get there
yourself,
quicker if you have a mentor or coach.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely shortcuts in life. There definitely are.
Yeah.
If you know the right person, if we get on the right guest.
Right.
I was watching Ty Lopez. He's doing those videos again where he's in his garage and he's like, the number one thing a podcast can do is get somebody established. That'll make, because if you get somebody big on, somebody else will come on. And
I agree with him.
Yeah,
he's
he
right.
was like, in 2012, I got Richard Dawkins on.
Yeah.
And when I got Richard Dawkins on, I was able to get somebody else on who's a scientist.
Yeah.
In case for people who don't know. But
for sure, he's right. He's right. The other way is just the long game, the game we're playing right now.
Yeah.
We're not waiting, we're pushing for it. But we're trying to get the right guest on, the big guest, right?
We have some famous people on. Ahmed Al-Qadri.
He's not famous. Don't say famous. He's clout.
TikTok famous.
He is clout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fame and clout is different, bro.
True.
Fame and clout is different.
I think what he's talking about is somebody globally
Somebody
known.
established.
Somebody established.
Well, he said established.
I like that word more
grounded.
than famous, actually.
Yeah.
Established.
Yeah.
I prefer that over famous.
Established?
Yes. Oh, my God, I like that.
Yeah.
Established.
Because you have to be legitimate, right? And if somebody who's an expert in their field is willing to come onto your podcast, there's legitimacy there.
But we've had experts. Like, but they aren't established. As
established
in famous.
Expert is a very different thing.
So established means you have fame. Or millions of people know you.
Established means that millions of people believe in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Scott Soames literally is established, but he's not
for sure.
like, he's an expert in what he does.
Also in a very, very specific subject.
Yeah, law. Like, specific.
Philosophy of law.
The philosophy of law,
That's very
specific, yeah. But there's, like, even more niche subjects within that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was talking about
there's, like, epistemology, which is not specifically philosophy of law, but there's so many things. Well, we have, like, an expert on religion. We've had experts, I think, as our guests. We've had experts. We just need somebody big.
That's
somebody huge. Somebody who has global clout.
Right.
Somebody that people are invested in, and want to know more about.
Yeah.
Maybe
we're working on it.
Working on it.
We're working on it.
It's a hustle.
Yeah.
What else do you want to say about leadership?
At the end of the day, not everybody deserves to be a leader, needs to be a leader. Have you ever heard of the saying, too many chiefs, not enough Indians?
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. It does not work. I think as a society, we need to figure out who is everyone and that's another thing, man. I mean, you've never worked with people in person, right? But
I have, yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
But
But Kami, I worked in
a,
person.
in a corporate setting, I'm saying.
In corporate office, yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
With Kami, I worked for 1 year.
Oh,
we
that's
had on.
right. That's
Yeah,
right. At
yeah.
USC. That's right. That's right. Okay, so maybe I don't know if you've had talks with this, but everybody thinks that they can be a better leader than the current leader. Everyone thinks so. But then when it's time to step up to the plate,
Yes.
most people fail.
Yes.
Right? So it's okay if you're not a leader. It's okay. I feel like we live in a society right now where everybody thinks that they're right. Everybody thinks that I can do better than that person. Yeah. But it's simply not the case. Some people have better instincts. Some people have been literally bred and raised to be in positions that they're in. And that is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Accept it. And if you think that you can be better, then do it, right? You need to prove yourself.
Yeah.
But and again, most leaders aren't going to say that they're better than that person. If you're thinking you're better than somebody else, you're probably not a leader. Leaders don't think in terms of I'm better than this person.
Yeah, leaders have this talent to see the potential and the strengths and weaknesses of people.
Yes.
They're great at talent seeking. You know, like they're great managers and agents.
Yes.
In like the Hollywood sense, they can see who's talented at what, which is an important skill to have. And as a leader, yeah, you don't have to have all the answers. Like it's your job actually is to, how do I get this person to do their job to the best of their ability? How do I get this person to do that? And you said something, I forgot what you said just now. No, you said
regarding.
Regarding? What did you just say?
About people thinking they can be better. Yeah.
You said everybody wants to be like everybody is like in this mode these days. They're right and the other person's wrong.
Yeah.
And you said it's okay to not be a leader. And I think that's a good point because people who think of themselves as leaders, they want to be leaders everywhere they go in any situation. And it's like, well, you might not be an expert in this, so it's okay to delegate and just let this other person be the leader.
Yeah.
Your job is just to empower people. It's not to lead. You're not George Washington.
Yeah.
You know, like being the commander in chief
More
all
than
the
that,
time.
bro, it's okay to learn. It's okay to learn. That's what good leaders do. They're able to say, "Hey, I don't know this. Let me ask questions." Right? And when you are able to ask questions in different fields, that's when you become a well-rounded leader. That's when you're able to say, "Hey, I didn't know this 2 years ago, but guess what? Now I do, and now I can direct exactly what I think or you know what I'm saying? Because I know, right?" But if you don't know something, don't assume you know the answer. That's not what leaders do. Leaders don't assume they know things. Leaders ask questions and then figure it out.
As you said that, it reminded me, a lot of leaders think they're intimidated by people who can do their jobs better than them.
That's not a leader.
But a lot of leaders think they need to find people that are just below.
That's not a
them.
leader.
I agree.
That's
with
somebody
you.
in charge.
I agree with you. That's a boss.
Yes.
That's not a leader.
Yeah.
Leaders.
That's a coward in my
I agree.
terms.
I agree. Absolutely. I think a true leader is somebody who finds people and makes them better than themselves.
100%.
That should be the goal of every leader.
Yes.
How do I find the next? If I'm a comedian, right?
Yeah.
If I'm Dave Chappelle, I would try to find the next Dave Chappelle and make sure he's better than me. You know, I'm just saying,
Maybe.
just as a hypothetical. If I'm a cricket player, my job is to find the next big fast bowler, make him faster than me, and keep the cycle
Some mentorship,
going
you're
on, and just keep the cycle going. That's the job of a leader. It's to empower people, make them better than you, and then tell them your job now is to find the next person and make them better than you. That's the true cycle of like human progress. That's how societies sustain for longer. That's how true progress happens, when that like management style is being lived out to the max. That's a beautiful thing to see. Companies are successful like that, bro. So many companies, if they have that culture.
They have that culture, yeah.
Seems like that company Toast Us, which our friend Mo works for. That company Toast.
Oh, Toast, yeah.
Like have that management style.
They did. Yeah.
I
don't know anymore, but when he last talked to us,
Yeah. All right, man. Anything else you want to say?
Last thing. I watched an interview with Nixon, and Nixon was saying...
Richard Nixon? President.
Maintain your nerve. When other people are saying, don't do something, you don't have to listen to them. Maintain your nerve.
You should have followed his own advice.
He should have, maybe. But, I mean, regardless,
Yeah.
regardless, what the advice is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, have tenacity.
Richard Nixon's such a nasty person. I don't know what it is about him when I looked at him. Like, and if you
Really?
something about him, man, just off. Like, I can't. He just gives me like the oil
The
salesman
heebie-jeebies?
type of vibe. Like, God, he just looks like crooked.
Well,
Not to like he was crooked. He was.
Yeah, his term wasn't the best.
He literally had to resign
Impeached,
because he was
yeah.
gonna get
Well, regardless, maintain
Richard
your
Nixon.
tenacity.
Do well under pressure. Because I think that's what he was. Do well under pressure. When the stakes are high, don't fumble.
Yeah.
Don't fumble. All right.
Thanks, guys.